So we're excited to have everybody here for our monthly Meet the Lenders event, being able to talk to some fantastic lenders here in our that lend for our San Diego and Imperial small business community, and learn a little bit also from the U.S. Small Business Administration. This is our monthly webinar that we have. We also do have some obviously a number of different live events. We're the San Diego and Imperial Small Business Development Center. We're here to be able to assist you, the small business owner, at no cost, from access capital, starting your business, growing your business, understanding all sorts of different types of things. So today we're going to learn from a group of panelists about what their lending products are and other critical tips for small businesses as you're seeking capital. But first, I want to turn it over to Lucy Montgomery from the U.S. Small Business Administration, San Diego District Office, for any updates that she has.
Thank you so much, Danny. We have some exciting updates today because we just had our National Small Business Week. So we have a little bit of announcement today. So I'll go quickly through. I'm going to share my screen. Can you let me know if you can see it?
We got it.
Perfect. Okay. So as you know, the SBA ignites change. We've been around for 70 years to aid, counsel, assist, and protect small businesses. And one of the things, the positive, happy things we get to do is make annual awards. And I just wanted to shout out really quick some of our small businesses of the year. We have our Small Business Person of the Year, Drew Simpson, Keith Arnold, Brian Tinsener from AmeriVet Contracting. Our Women-Owned Small Business of the Year, Pacific Inc., Jamie and Alex Motts. Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year, WEPA Commercial, Francisco Rivera. Family-Owned Small Business of the Year, the Highland Barber Shop, Ryland Camara, which I know is one of your clients. Rural-Owned Small Business of the Year, Spirit Mountain Roasting Company. And then a couple more. I'm just going to go quick because I know we started just a bit late. We have Charlotte Ringinger, Young Entrepreneur of the Year, ChargeNet Stations, the Minority-Owned Small Business of the Year, the Minority Small Business Champion of the Year, Jason Pagola from the Asian Business Association of San Diego, who's having a big event tonight. The Small Business Journalist of the Year, Natalie Rocha of the UT, which we thank. Women in Business Champion, Jamie Lomax of WBEC. Jill Andrews Award for Staying Power is one of our Thrive graduates, SBA Thrive, Aesthetically Pleasing Medical Spa, Stacy Grisham, been in business for 20 years. The Anthony Vigil Small Business Advocacy Award went to Donetta Jackson from DGS. And then couple more. Our District Director Award for Mission Support went to Bob Ragland from SCORE. Our Financial Services Champion of the Year very well may be on this call, Miriam Baltus of the CDC Small Business Finance. Our Women's Business Center, which is a San Diego and National Award winner, Katia Berra, which is most excellent. And I also just want to shout out, and I put them last because they're very important, our San Diego and Region 9 award winner, your SBDC, and your Regional District Director, Danny Fitzgerald, who is on this call. And thank you so much for that amazing award and for the service that you provide to the San Diego community. Now, my quickly 2 minutes, how can the SBA assist you with capital? We can help you with SBA-backed loans, investors, R&D, and surety bonds. We're going to talk about lending right now because we're with lenders. And the most important thing you need to know is that you get your SBA loan or non-SBA loan, if that's the best for you, through our lending partners. And they're the people on this call right now. You can use an SBA loan just like you can use any business loan, but the reason that you use the SBA guaranteed loan is to offer competitive terms, lower down payments, flexible overhead. You can use your business loan from anything from purchasing a new business or accessing credit, revolving credit. You can renovate, you can purchase inventory, and you can export. This is the list of the loan programs. We have 504 loans for commercial and micro loans and 7A loans all the way up from under 50,000 up to over 2 million. I also note disaster loans, and I want to give an update. SBA is working on how you pay your disaster loan. Please take a screenshot so you can get to our My SBA Loan portal to get your lending interest and make your payments directly to SBA. This is new and more user-friendly, and we're happy about that. You can go directly to lender match, but I'm going to just go quickly through that slide because we want you to go to your SBDC first to help with your business plan, expense sheets, financial statements, and financial projections. And as these lenders will tell you in this little conference right now, that this is extremely important to be prepared when you meet with your lender. And you can get local assistance right here. And as you found your SBDC, here are a couple other local services sponsored in part by the SBA. This one, award-winning. As I mentioned, Region 9 award-winning, your SBDC by your regional director, Danny Fitzgerald, also on the call and heading this call. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I had to go quickly through, but I want to get you a chance to speak to these lenders and get everything you need to know. Please reach out to your district office. Follow us on Twitter, where we're very active to get new and exciting information. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And let's all learn a lot from these lenders.
Lucy, thanks as always. We appreciate the update and the partnership with the local San Diego district office. They have done fantastic work throughout the pandemic and are always a great supporter of small business. They're a small but mighty team. So let's go ahead and get into our panel. We'll go ahead and we'll start letting everybody introduce themselves. And why don't we go ahead and start with you, Andrew, and we'll kind of get going from there.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Danny. Andrew Crone. I'm Senior VP of Marble Bridge Funding Group. We are a 25-year-old commercial finance company up in the Bay Area. We lend throughout the state of California and most of the U.S. We specialize in accounts receivable finance, purchase order finance, contract finance, and we also do a lot of support for our small business, connecting them to the right partners such as the SBDC and anything else that we can do to help them on their road to success.
Awesome. Gustavo. Can't hear you, Gustavo. And
Hi, can you hear
you're
me?
not muted. You're not muted.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is.
There
Can
we
you hear
go.
me now?
There we
Hey, I was just saying some wonderful things about you, Danny. Congratulations on your award, well deserved, and fabulous trip out to DC. So congratulations to you and your staff. My name is Gustavo Bedard. I work for Civic Community Partners. We're a community development financial institution, which is basically a nonprofit lender. We are not a financial institution in the sense that we take deposits. We are a community lender, if you will. And we have a particular business program called Building Business Success, which is geared to helping small businesses to get the working capital necessary for procurement or to fulfill contracts. So look forward to talking and sharing more about that later. So thank you again for the invitation to participate.
Thank you, Gustavo. Juliet.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Thank you for being here. I'm going to apologize in advance for my voice. I have a little bit of a cold. But my name is Juliet Terman. I am a business development officer with Accessity. Accessity is a CDFI community development financial institution, nonprofit micro lending organization here in Southern California. We're based out of San Diego. We cover all of Southern California up to LA and Orange counties. We do term loans up to $100,000. And we do work with both startup and existing businesses. So we have lots of our great partners here on the call, and I'm looking forward to sharing more with you about our programs.
Thank you. And Juan, what do you got from Banner Bank?
Hi, good morning, Danny. Juan Garcia with Banner Bank here in Chula Vista. I'm the branch manager of this particular office. Banner Bank is headquartered out of the state of Washington, and we're in Idaho, we're in Oregon and California. And we do business loans from $5,000 on up.
Fantastic. Fernando.
Good morning. Thank you. Fernando Ponce with Primary Funding. So we are a asset-based lender based right here in San Diego. We've been in San Diego for just over 27 years now, helping out business owners here in the community. So we focus on, as I mentioned, asset-based lending like factoring or invoice financing. We also do purchase order finance, and we tend to work with a lot of companies that are either on their road to becoming bankable or have maybe had a hiccup, on their trajectory and maybe can't get with a bank and suddenly are unable to be bankable, and we'll help them to get that financing and really be that bridge to get back to the bank.
And Miriam.
Hi, I'm Miriam with CDC Small Business Finance. We're a part of Momentous. But what we do is we're a nonprofit lender. We've been around for 40 plus years, and we lend to those as well that are not quite able to get traditional lending yet. So startups, existing business owners that don't qualify at a bank, acquisitions, and so forth. And I've been doing this for 20 years. I know Fernando and a bunch of other people, we've been in the industry for a long time. We're dinosaurs, but we all work together to help out our local small business owners.
Fantastic. And my first question is kind of straightforward in terms of, what are the types of small businesses? In other words, like, maybe there's some restrictions on time in business, industry type, et cetera, that your organization has, and for kind of who really is the wheelhouse for your particular institution. So why don't we start with you, Juliet?
Yeah, we work with most industries. We work with a lot of high risk industries. So we work with restaurants, any sort of gyms, salon services. Those are typically considered in the lending world more high risk. Oh, and transportation. That's a big one that we do a lot of lending for. So we do work with the high risk industries, and we work with pure startup businesses. They can be pure revenue generating businesses as long as there's another source of income. We don't have like one specific kind of industry that we really focus on, but I would just say that we work with most industries. Some of the industries that we don't work with are going to be more like adult entertainment, any sort of cannabis, kind of any of the industries that you find that traditional banks can't work with. So we do lend to a variety of clients. I'm here in the city of San Diego, so my clients range everything from CPAs to food trucks to truckers, to a lemonade stand I funded not that long ago. So we have all kinds of different clients, but yeah, we're here to help almost everybody.
Fantastic. Fernando.
So we tend to focus more on B2B or business to business industries, right? So companies that have accounts receivable, purchase orders, those are really the main type of assets that we like to leverage. So, your manufacturers, your wholesalers, we work with a lot of food and beverage companies right now. Staffing is also a big one for us. I would say that the ones to stay away from for us, I mean, retail is going to be really tough, obviously, because they don't have receivables. But in that B2B space, construction and healthcare are very difficult for us. There are just some issues with the way the receivables are structured that make it difficult for us to advance on that type of industry. But other than those two, we're fairly agnostic. As long as you're business to business and you have accounts receivable or purchase orders that we can help you finance, it usually will be a good fit for us.
Fantastic. And Juan.
For us, we'd like to see a little bit of a track record. 2 years would be helpful. Company's been in 2 years, we get an idea as to what the management team has done over the last couple of years. We like manufacturing. We like equipment loans. We like the service industry, the professionals. We recently did, and on the retail side, we did a loan to a food truck. And what else? I think if we have a focus, I would say it's more on the manufacturing side.
Fantastic. And Gustavo.
Thank you, Danny. We don't necessarily specialize in a particular industry per se. I think what Juliet said before, obviously we don't do any adult entertainment as well, or any type of sinful type of business, if you will. But we are focused primarily on MBEs and DBE type of ownership of companies who are seriously procuring contracts with an anchor institution such as like SeaWorld or Sharp or Sony, the Port Authority, school districts. We're trying to inject working capital for individuals who are trying to fulfill these contracts. So we're not necessarily looking for startups per se, but in essence, if you can win a contract and if you can procure successfully a contract and you have multiple contracts and you're short on cash, that's the type of business that we're trying to assist. So if you have a service related contract and you're trying to hire more people to fulfill that contract or need materials, and that's kind of where we step in. That's our sweet spot, if you will. By the nature of who we were in the past, we're also very focused on construction. We're very familiar with construction and community development. So, we a good percentage of our clients happen to be those in the, real estate industry, those that build or help to build, buildings such as, commercial properties or residential properties. So thank you.
Thank you. Miriam.
Yeah, so as I had mentioned, we help startup businesses. So that could be pre-revenue, like let's say they got a business plan and projections. They worked with you guys and got that ready. So pre-revenue, and then they would just need to cash flow personally. And then existing business owners that aren't quite yet for traditional lending would be other good clients for us. And then if you wanted to acquire either a franchise or an existing business, that's another thing that we do. But I would say about 50% of our loans are startup businesses. And we're very open to almost every industry. So we kind of follow the SBA guidelines as far as in nothing in the adult industry and no marijuana or hemp or anything like that. But other than that, we're pretty open to having a conversation and seeing if it makes sense. That's where I think is the huge difference on how we underwrite our loans. Traditional lending, I worked in traditional lending, the big banks for a while, and it's very much like you either fit in that guideline or you don't. And for us, we're more, think of cash flow. Does your business cash flow or do you cash flow? That's what we're looking for. And then if you do, just explain to us everything else, and we're pretty open.
Fantastic. And I owe Veronica from Wells Fargo an apology. She's on our panel too, and she's here on the call. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and catch up with answering that same question.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize. My camera somehow isn't working. It's not letting me upload a photo. So I am sorry. So I am Veronica with Wells Fargo. I'm the Senior Small Business Development Officer in the area. We serve existing large small businesses. In addition to, there are times where we can help with startup as well. We do work in the healthcare field, and so if you're a dentist or a doctor and you want to start your practice, we can help with startup. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with all the questions. Like most of the other panelists, the businesses that we don't work with are the standard, like we said, the marijuana, the industry that may or may not have hemp, CBD. It just kind of depends on how that business is structured. The adult industry, those are pretty common. We do have different types of loans. And the last and final question was, remind me once more, please.
Really what it is it's just kind of that, those were where we're at, is just the types of businesses that are in your wheelhouse, and then just introducing yourself. That's all we had so far.
Perfect. Yes, we work with multiple types of businesses. We've been around since 1852. We've had a lot of growth, hiccups, and have continued to build. And so we're really happy to serve our clients in the market. Fantastic.
Thanks, Veronica. And no worries about the camera. But your face would have been memorable, I guess. So Andrew, we'll go ahead and go to you now with the types of businesses you work with.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. So we do receivable finance. We do purchase order and contract finance. We work with businesses that are B2B, so business to business. And we also fund businesses that are B2G, business to government. We also do some international funding as well. The clients that I see are everything from startups. So our definition of a startup is a company that's receivable based, going to provide a product or service and invoice their client, usually within 60 to 90 days from when we sign them. So we do startups that have no revenue but plan to have revenue in a short period of time, and we can fund companies up to 50 million in revenue. Most of the time we see businesses between 500,000 revenue to 20 million in revenue. So a B2B would be anyone providing a product or a service. So we see engineers. We specialize in the construction industry, something that's rare in our industry. So we do progress billing, milestone billings. We deal with software companies, hardware companies, import, export, engineers, consultants of every type, people providing services for states, cities, counties, almost any business I would say the only businesses that we don't do are doctors, dentists, chiropractors. We don't do cannabis. We don't do the adult industry, but we do work in the alcohol industry for importers that are manufacturing wine, tequila, things in that area, everything in the food industry. And I've been here 23 years. I do the underwriting as well. So usually within a phone call, I can figure out whether we can help you or not. That's it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andrew. And that's a good segue kind of for some of my next question, which is kind of the process that's, as a small business is, comes to you and is starting an application, maybe they've come to the SBDC and worked with us. What's really that process from application through underwriting through funding, and what does that really kind of look like? And, if you could describe some timelines as well. Why don't we go ahead and start with you, Veronica?
Well, we do, our timelines vary. I think a lot of it, and I think we've been in this field for quite some time, that sometimes it's chasing down the proper documents, financials, taxes. So a lot of times it is dependent on the client, how soon we can get those documents. That said, once we get a document, if it's pretty straightforward, the lending, everything is in order, it usually goes pretty quickly. Now, granted, we've all worked with SBA and we know that sometimes it takes, a few weeks. And then other times we can have a simple line of credit. As long as everything's turned in, everything is straightforward, we can have an answer back in a week, funded within 7 to 10 days. It's all dependent on the type of lending that is needed.
Fantastic. Thank you. Gustavo, what's kind of the process from application through underwriting and funding? Hope you're on mute.
I have a problem with the mute button today. So we try to keep the process very simple. First and foremost, we do have a secured online application that kind of initiates the whole process. What you hear from many of us, I'm sure, and I'll defer to my colleagues here, is that we do collect a number of items to kind of do our due diligence, tax returns for the last 2 years, bank statements, financials, last quarter, audited financials, if you have those from the year prior. We at Civic Communities, we do take a little extra care in looking at, your cash flow perspective when it comes to your procured contracts. So we like to get a schedule of what you've won, what you're currently working on, and what you might be bidding. That obviously helps us understand your cash flow from a perspective of procured contracts. One of the things I'd like to share is obviously the time-wise is really, the range of time will vary, as you might have heard already. I think the most important thing that I think many of us will suggest to our people on the phone today is, on the call is, make sure that you're very thoughtful with your documents, make sure we get them, all at one time. It makes for a much more efficient process than having to wait for, one item, another item. We'll all pretty much give you a list of items that we need to kind of underwrite you to the, your specifications and your ask. But sometimes delays occur when we don't necessarily get everything we need at the same time, if you will. But typically, I would say, within a month or so, we should be able to help you from application to funding. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Juan, what about a Banner Bank?
Well, again, it would depend on the type of request. The credit decision process is fairly quick, usually 2 to 3 days as far as getting a credit decision, and then we get conditions, and so that's where we really rely on the client to get us the additional documentation in a timely manner. And if we get that, then depending on the type of loan, we recently did a loan for a commercial vehicle, and we were able to do that in probably about 7 working days. But if it's real estate, then it's going to take a little bit longer to do. So that's kind of what it is in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. So underwriting process is pretty simple. It starts out usually with a phone call with me. We talk about your business, how long you've been around, what you're doing, what you're looking for in terms of funds. So I try to learn as much as I can about your business. Then I educate you pretty completely about how we operate. I will answer all questions you know or don't know. I will cover everything with you. At that point, it sounds like there's a potential fit here, and usually there is, because a lot of my referrals know exactly what we do from our referral partners here and from banks and other contacts we have. Then we go into the gathering of documents. We have a one-page document for your application. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out. We ask for financials, tax returns, the usual stuff that a bank may ask for. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be CPA audited, but I will go over it with you and I will consult on that if I see you're doing things right or wrong, things that can help you in the future down the road and get bankable, because our clients are here from point A to point B, hence our name Bridge. We're here to get you to where you're going, and usually that's to graduate from us down the road. And so we'll gather the package. I'll walk it through with you. We'll finish any questions you have at that point. If you both want to go forward, then we go into next steps in the underwriting and then get ready for first funding. When I do underwriting, I get about a 98, 95, 99% acceptance rate. The only 1% that doesn't go through is someone didn't tell me something about something in their past, because we do a complete background and everything traditional, just like a bank. But otherwise, the deals go through. And this whole process can move as fast as the clients I talk to and getting me the documents I need. But usually it takes anywhere from, let's say, 5 working days to 10 working days to get done, signed, and approved. That's it. Pretty quick.
Thank you. Miriam.
Yeah, so I like to take a little bit of a different approach. Although you can apply online, you will get your credit pulled automatically. So I like to have a 15-20 minute conversation. Hopefully the referral comes straight from you, because from the SBDC, because those are just like so easy because they've already worked with you and you guys know exactly what we're looking for, and it's a good fit. But if you don't do that, I'm happy to chat with you, and I would have a 20-minute conversation with you. Usually people will schedule a call on my link to see if you're a good fit. And if you're not a good fit, I might send you back to the SBDC or somebody on this panel. We all partner together, maybe Accessity, Juliet, or Fernando, or Andrew. So so that would be the first thing. And then if that conversation goes well, then I go ahead and give you a special link to apply online that's connected with me. And then I help you through the process. And I'll review your file in about 3-4 business days to let you know if you pre-qualify. And then if you do pre-qualify, we work on basically getting, per se, all of your I's dotted and T's crossed. I've been doing this for 20 years and I've been at CDC for 5 years. So the goal is to get you approved. I have a high rate of approval, and that's my goal, even if it takes time, or even if I have to send you back to the business advisor at SBDC. I think the point is that at the end of the day, we help you get approved. And then once you go to underwriting, the timing is anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, maybe 8. I mean, honestly, it really depends on how, as Gustavo mentioned, like, are you turning in piecemeal when we ask you for items, or are you turning in everything together? If you're turning in everything together and you're looking for a speedy answer in funding, then the best way is just to make everything as complete as possible. And then it could be as quick as 3 weeks for sure. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the process from start to end. I always check up on you, even though at the beginning, what I really do, my expertise is really just pre-qualifying you and strongly pre-qualifying you. I'll check in when you get approved, and I'll check in at the very end to make sure the service, was well, or if there's, some improvement that's needed. That's kind of how our process works.
Thank you. Fernando.
Yeah.
Yeah, lot of similarities you'll hear to my peers here. I mean, so typically a phone call is going to lead to, us really being able to assess if it's going to be a fit or not, that initial phone call. Once we move beyond that point, our entire process is probably going to take 2 to 3 weeks, just depending on how complex and how many customers you're dealing with. But we're really basing the majority of our decision on who you're doing business with, right? So we're collecting accounts receivable, AR aging, AP aging, to make sure where your ratios are there. We're also reviewing those contracts that you have to make sure that they are factorable, right? That we can actually assign the payment and get all that done. So that's where the bulk of our time goes into, is just kind of vetting out that process, how you bill, how you invoice, and how those payments come. Are they ACH? Are they by check? And so once we get all that figured out, we can typically put a proposal together and give you some pricing and let you know exactly what the deal is going to look like. And then once we move beyond that, we'll get everything in place and get ready to fund. So our process, like I said, it really depends on how many customers you have that we're looking to finance the receivables on. So it can be anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. That's the average that we're seeing. But we really walk you through everything. I'm your one point of contact throughout, pretty much the bulk of the process. And then once we get to the point where we're going to get ready to fund, we bring in an account executive that will then be your point of contact going forward. And that person, they'll be like your best friend, because they're going to be the ones that you're always sending all your funding schedules to. If there's any issues, any hiccups, they're the ones that help you walk through everything. So it's really great to have that one point of contact kind of throughout the whole process, and even once you become a client of ours.
Fantastic. And Juliet?
Yeah, I take a similar approach to Miriam. A first initial phone call is a great way to determine if our loan program is the best fit for you. So it's about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll talk about all the details of your business, see where you're at. I do the same thing, refer clients to other resources if they need to go back to the SBDC, work on the business plan, or collect their financials. That's something that we'll do in the beginning, because once you go through the process, our process is actually very quick. So we're about 3 to 4 weeks from application to when you can get funded. And so you do fill out an application on our website, which I'll send to you after we have that initial phone call. And then we collect documentation from you. So the standard tax returns, bank statements, business plans, current financials if you're already in business. And then you go to our underwriting department, and they really evaluate if we can afford to put you into this debt that you're applying for. And they usually take about 3 to 5 business days to underwrite your loan. And then our loans are going to be guaranteed with the state of California. And that is also a 3 to 5 day turnaround time. So my peers have said it, as quickly as you can get us your documents is as quick as we can get you through the process. I'm actually speaking with somebody right after this call that wants funds within the next 30 days. And I told them that's absolutely possible as long as you can get me your documents. So we're going to have that follow-up call and hopefully be able to fund them within 30 days. So yeah, that's our process. But again, I just want to stress that initial call with us at the beginning in order to see if you're a good fit for our program. And a new update we just made is we are now doing soft pulls to credit. So we're not doing hard pulls any longer. So if you do go ahead and decide to, skip me and go straight to our website and apply, you are going to have a soft pull to your credit instead of a hard pull.
Fantastic. So I think one of the most common theme always is it is somewhat on you to be prepared. So at the Small Business Development Center, we are free, no cost business advising. We have a number of different financial and lending experts that that know the process for each of the different lenders. And so you come to us, kind of be able to figure out what's the best fit for where your business is at, and also make sure that you've got all your documentation in a row. So I liked what Juliet said, that the speed, and pretty much everyone said the same thing. A lot of the speed is depending on you and making sure you have everything prepared and everything in line. And so that's a lot of what that comes down to. So now I want to kind of talk a little bit about, some other things you can kind of provide to some small businesses, what are some tips as they're looking for capital or preparing themselves for capital? And then, of course, some particular pitfalls that they may experience. Certainly some things to avoid. So why don't we go ahead and start with you, Juan? What are some tips and or pitfalls?
Well, tips, I think you'd want to contact the SBDC first and kind of get a good understanding as what the need is and how much the dollar amount is that they're requesting, and get a kind of fine tune that. And then no surprises. So I would say, as far as a pitfall, they definitely want to look at the credit report and not avoid that. Take a look at the credit, make sure that everything that's on there is being reported correctly. And if there's something that needs an explanation, then let's know what that is up front, so that we can kind of address that going into the credit approval process.
Fantastic. And Gustavo, what about you? tips and or pitfalls?
Thank you, Danny. I was writing down my answers here. I think the best thing you can do to be prepared is the best. I think is the best tip. Obviously, Juan already mentioned it, to leverage as much as possible the counseling that's available to you free through the SBDC. That's always a good place to start to kind of assess where you're at. I would also say that one of the things that you should also try to be is as completely honest as possible on your application. Although at Civic Community Partners, we don't necessarily check the FICO of an individual. Our underwriting is based on the strength of your procurement history. You don't want to necessarily hide things that may come up later. Many of us do soft pull, hard pulls, check, public records for things that may come up on your background or on your social security number or what have you. The last thing you want to do is not be honest with any one of us who are trying to assist you. So, be honest, be prepared, and leverage the resources available to you from a training aspect from the SBDC. We ourselves also offer, in collaboration with the very same partners here, technical assistance training specific to procurement, right? How do you work and how do you contract and bid with these anchor institutions? So take advantage of all those resources that are made available through the SBDC and its affiliate partners. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. And Fernando.
One of the, I think the best tip I can give is just working with the right lender, right? I mean, there's so many options, as you can see here on this panel today, but there are also a number of other lenders that the SBDC works with that are not on this particular call today. So, and it's just it's so important to pick the right lender that has the right kind of lending policy that fits where you are as a business and as a business owner, and that also fits the needs of what you have, what you have going on, right? So I would say that's the biggest tip I can give you, because if you find the right lender, it's going to be so much of an easier process than trying to make it work with someone that's not a good fit for you. And as far as the pitfalls, one of the things I've noticed a lot lately is that credit markets are drying up, right? There's less and less capital available right now. A lot of the programs that were available just a year ago are not available anymore. And even just the ones that are still available, the criteria is getting tighter and tighter, right? So what I've been noticing a trend of a lot of borrowers that I'll get approved for a program, right? And their mentality is kind of like, well, hold on, a year ago, I could have got that at a much lower rate, or it could have been, X amount of dollars more. And they're kind of stuck in that mentality. And so they pass on an opportunity that could have helped them out, right? And they go, and I'm going to go find something better. And then what I'm seeing now is months later, they come back and they say, hey, I want that deal that you had put together for me a couple of months ago. I'll take that now. I couldn't find anything else. And it's like, well, hey, sorry, the price it's actually more expensive now, or, that opportunity is not available anymore. We can't do that particular deal anymore. And now they're kind of stuck, right? And so my advice is not to take anything that's given to you. I mean, it's got to be the right fit. Like I said, it's got to be the right program, the right fit, but also realize that capital is drying up. It is harder and harder to get qualified for these types of programs. So if you do get something, don't just say, well, I'm not going to take it because it's, I could have got something better a few months ago. That might be the best deal, and it might get worse in a couple of months. So just be very cognizant that it's getting harder to get capital.
That's important, because the capital markets are in flux, as it were. So Veronica, what about you? What are some tips and pitfalls?
Well, tips I really want to elaborate with what Fernanda was saying is definitely get education, right? You don't, just because it's your corner bank or it's right down the street, I think I'm just going to walk in and see what they have. Really do your research, right? Know what it is that you need, right? So that when you go in, you're prepared. This is what I'm going to need for my business, and also be open to suggestions. Our job is to really hear what it is that you need, what your goals are for the future, and help you get there. Now, whether Wells Fargo is a fit for you, or say Accessity is a fit for you, that's going to be a choice that you're going to have to make, but always be ready with what you need. As far as pitfalls, definitely looking for your credit. Be ready for the explanation if you know you're going to submit a package once you found that perfect fit for you. make sure that you're ready with that explanation. Have it prepared so that when you do submit the packet, it is expedited and we don't have to uncover, oh, look, hey, tell me what happened here. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That can create a delay. And then don't inflate numbers. I've seen where we think it's going to be like this because this is what we projected. There's projection, and then there's what you can afford now and what you plan on doing. So we want to make sure that when you lend, it's something that can be paid back, right? And getting the education. Is there a balloon payment in the end? Were you aware? So always just being mindful of what is being presented to you. I think that's really the biggest tip is knowing what you're being presented with.
Fantastic. Andrew.
Yeah, I would echo what the panel is saying, especially Fernando. I think he hit a lot of the strong points here. In the business community, a positive tip. There's a great panel here. You got the SBDC. There are a lot of lenders who, again, aren't on this panel. And then you have us here. I've been doing this 23 years. I know most people's programs. So when you're shopping around, you do want to talk to multiple lenders to see what each one has to offer, because a lot of this for small business is brand new. I mean, they may know a traditional bank and they may go down that route. If they're not accepted in that route, it doesn't mean that there aren't other options within the panel here. And even within the panel, lenders here and lenders in other parts of the state, sometimes you can get multiple loans. So you really need to speak to all of us to some degree to figure out what each one offers and what you're doing. And if you take that time to do that, you will have such a greater understanding of where things are at and what would be the best fit for you. So definitely take the time to do that. You may get accepted from multiple people on the panel, but you got to figure out, based on the information, what is the best fit for you. On the pitfalls of business, two things I would say as far as the business environment right now. You have inflation out there, so you got to project for your business and protect your business, because costs are not going to be going down. They're going to be staying high probably for years to come. We're going to continually to see inflation, at least that's our projection. And you have to be able to raise your prices, because your labor costs, your material costs will probably continue to go up in the coming years. And so you want to make sure that you're able to do that, because as you know, inflation eats away at your profits, and you have to be able to have that and have the ability to do that. If you're not sure how to do that, speak with the SBDC, and their consultants can help you plan for that and look at your business and make suggestions, as probably many of us can that are doing these loans. And then in addition to that, again, I think this was echoed already, be aware that we do background checks. We will find everything. So if there's anything that you're worried about, bring it up front in your first call. And we can tell you whether we can deal with it or not. As an example with us, if you had a bankruptcy a year ago and it's been discharged, we can fund that, where some other lenders wouldn't be able to do it in that timeline. So you also want to just be upfront, and this way it'll be more efficient for you, and you'll figure out who the right lenders are for you.
Fantastic. So I got a different question for Juliet and Miriam, for each of you. And so Juliet, you mentioned it, and it was kind of talked about at the beginning, what there are for governmental guarantees of loans. Both the Small Business Administration provides guarantees and the state of California provides guarantees. And so Miriam, if you could explain SBA guarantees, and then Juliet, same to you, but about the state loan guarantees. So we'll start with you, Miriam.
Okay, yeah, so we actually do both state and SBA guarantees. But so for the SBA guarantee, it's really good to clarify, especially when we had COVID and there were so many SBA and the EIDL loans going on. I think that people got a little bit confused and thought that SBA loans come from SBA, the Small Business Administration, directly. And that is not the case. That only happens in a state of emergency. So the EIDL loans, did actually come from SBA, but let's hope we don't have another state of emergency when that happens. So traditionally, the way that it happens is a lender like ourselves at CDC Small Business Finance, we're an alternative lender, but also a lender like Chase or B of A or Wells Fargo. These traditional lenders, they also offer SBA guaranteed loans, and the money actually comes from us, the lenders. So the money that we're lending, if you need 100,000, we are lending you the money, or Chase is lending you the money, or B of A is lending you the money. And then the guarantee comes from SBA. So SBA says, for example, okay, Miriam, you're SBDC Small Business Finance. You want to help this small business owner. He's a startup. I know he's risky. So in order to encourage you to lend to this borrower, I'm going to guarantee a certain percentage of the money that the borrower is that you're lending to the borrower. So for example, if you come to me and you say, Miriam, I need $100,000. I want to start this retail home goods boutique or whatever it might be. And I say, okay, I put you through the application process and then I take you through the SBA guaranteed program. That would mean that, God forbid your business fails. SBA has already guaranteed that loan up to, 85, 90%, 75%, somewhere in there, depending on industry, whatever it might be. And then if your business, unfortunately, coming years does fail in the next 2-3 years, whatever it might be, that doesn't mean that you as a borrower are like, okay, SBA went and paid my bill to that lender, so I'm free. That $75,000 of the $100,000. That's not what that means. That means that then the Small Business Administration will ask you for the money that you owe them because they will have paid us if your loan defaults. So it's basically the Small Business Administration is all about small business owners, and what they're trying to do is encourage us as lenders to take a risk on you. And in order to do that, they will guarantee a certain percentage of your loan. And in all honesty, most lenders have a very small default rate on SBA loans. I know we do because there are certain guidelines that we have to follow. But that's basically what the Small Business Administration is doing for you. And then in addition, helps fund the Small Business Development Center, which, provides amazing free business advising. So we're very blessed to be here in the US and have so many things available to us for free. Okay, so hopefully that explains what the SBA guarantee is.
Fantastic. And Juliet, how's the state loan guarantee similar and different?
Yeah, I always think Miriam explains it so well. And so essentially it's insurance for your loan, right? So if you were to default on your loan or not pay back, I always tell people if they run away and they never pay us, we can get paid back a certain percentage of your loan. But we're all nonprofit, not all of us. Most of us are nonprofit, micro lending, CDFIs. So, we're really here to help the community. So if we don't get paid back, it's hard to continue on with our program if that happens over and over again. So it's essentially an insurance for your loan. It is through the state of California. Our loans only use the state guarantee program. And it, again, allows a lender to take more risk in order to provide capital for your business. So at the very beginning of the call, when I introduced myself, I said we work with a lot of high risk industries. And that's a major reason why we are able to do that, because we have that guarantee on our loans. So again, ours is just with the state of California, but just gives us a little bit more assurance that we can give more capital to businesses that need it the most.
Fantastic. I'm glad we had that explanation because it's important, because a lot of times it is confusing, especially what Miriam was talking about, that these are not loans from the SBA, not loans from the state of California. Rather, they are basically, lack of a better word, insuring the loans or minimizing the risk to the lender who's actually providing that, be it Wells Fargo, be it CDC Small Business Finance, etc. That's how that particularly works. All right, well, we're gonna have our last question, which is always fun, which is kind of tell me a success story of a recent business that you were able to work with. And why don't we go ahead and start with you, Fernando?
Yeah, we actually are just in the process of finalizing to help a customer who does staffing. And I mentioned earlier, we don't do healthcare, but she's in the healthcare staffing space. So this just worked out. It happened to be a fit, and had her payments that were coming from government agencies, basically, or government funded agencies. And she was getting paid on net 15 terms. Suddenly they told her, hey, we're going to start paying you on net 30, net 45 terms. And she's been taking on more and more clients with these particular contracts. And so that was going to be an issue for her, right? She wasn't going to be able to make payroll on a biweekly basis if she's getting stretched out 30 to 45 days. And so we were able to come in and provide that bridge for her. We're going to be factoring those invoices that she's putting out the door every week, and giving her the capital that she needs to, one, make her payroll, but also continue to take on more and more from that particular organization and grow her business. So that was a great win for us and also for her.
Fantastic. What about you, Veronica?
Thank you. So we do focus on healthcare, and we have a program that is for startups for healthcare. So I think my success story is there was a dentist who had finished school, was working at a popular dental location and wanted to open their own practice. So I think I was really proud that we could get this person up, found a location, got them going. And then Wells Fargo does have another program as well that offers like for a full year guidance, counseling, making sure their cash flow is working. So you fast forward and you see this person's business thriving. And so you know that you feel good at the respect that they started, they had a vision, they had a dream, they planned it out, and you were able to help that person and catapult them to the next phase. And so now they are running their business. They do utilize some of our specialty services to make sure they're doing their paperwork properly. And it's a free service when you do go through our program, but it's just really nice to see those businesses grow. And I'm really proud of that because this is someone that graduated, had a vision, had a dream, and now you kind of see it go into fruition. So I think that's a great story for me, just seeing people's businesses grow.
Fantastic. That is always, that's the fun part.
Right? And you see the whole process. And because of the way our program works, they call you and say, hey, I have a question. And the way we work is you call us directly when you have something, and then we guide you through the bank to the person you need to speak to. So this person constantly reaches out and says, I'm so excited, and now has a vision for the next several years to expand his practice. So it was him and her partners, and they're just doing really great. And I love seeing the success is really gratifying.
Fantastic. All right, Juan, what about you?
We have a client that's in the high-end apparel industry, and they were looking for a line of credit. When we went to look at the collateral for the line of credit, we saw that the business assets were already encumbered. They had another loan, and so we were able to extend the credit. And in this case, we were able to use the owner's primary residence and the equity that they had, the lendable equity that they had available in their primary residence as collateral, and we're able to grant them their line of credit so they can go out and buy material and manufacture and sell.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Juliet.
This is always my favorite question because I feel like every time I get to share a new story, this client was actually doubly referred to me by the SBDC and actually by a bank. So they heard from both the representative of SBDC and their banker that they should work with us. And so it was really exciting. And the other second really exciting part about this is that our maximum loan size is $100,000, and we were able to approve them for the full $100,000. This was just last week. They're actually going to be taking over a current coffee shop in Hillcrest, and they're going to be rebranding it, doing some remodel, and then opening on, I think they said June 1st, but that sounds very soon now that I think about it. So maybe mid-June they'll be reopening. And so I'm very excited for them. They're wonderful people. They have a lot of experience in the industry. He actually is a co-owner of another coffee shop here in San Diego. So I'm just really excited for them. And again, I think it's just a really good example of our partnership, not only with the bankers that we work with, but also with the Small Business Development Center. So thank you guys for sending him over. And that is they're a partner. So it's 50% women-owned business, 50% male-owned business.
Fantastic. Thanks, Juliet. Gustavo.
Okay, thank you, Danny. Well, just to provide additional kudos to the SBDC, my success story is about I met a husband and wife commercial electrical team that I met at the first quarter or Q1 forum that you had at Southwestern College. And so I had a chance to meet this couple, get to know them, kind of like if you heard, had a kind of an interview with them, kind of assess them while they came and spoke to us at our table. At the end of the day, clearly we became, more than just clients, but friends, because you kind of establish a relationship with your borrowers. And as it turns out, they survived the COVID as a sole proprietor. They've gone through some ebb and flows during the COVID period, and they had barely survived, but they survived nonetheless and became incorporated just over a year ago. And they aligned themselves very well with some primes. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're kind of very familiar with the construction business because of the work that we did in the past, working with this on behalf of the city of San Diego with public works and what have you. At the end of the day, we were able to assist them. They did align themselves with, like I said, with some prime individuals, contractors, and they, over a period of about 6 months, had won successfully $3 million worth of contracts. So, we collected their information. We obviously worked to better understand their cash flow. Because of their growth, they needed to ramp up on their skill workers. And so we were able to provide them successfully $100,000 to hire more people to fulfill their contracts and be able to carry some of the burden of their pays, right? Because now they had 3 different contractors paying them since they were the subs. So we're very happy to kind of give them that capital, that working capital necessary. But we wouldn't have met them, if you will, establish a relationship if we hadn't been there, very supportive of the SBDC and the SBD being very supportive to its clients and to its lenders. So kind of a full circle, the power of relationship building, right? So again, thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Miriam.
I have this client that just got approved, and it was actually a referral from a banker, and I brought the SBDC in, and he needed some help with his projections. But pretty cool story, Latino guy that started just one of those on the corner, like out, not even attached to a building, selling birria tacos in San Diego. And just as the years have come by, he just got really, really busy. So he actually rented like the corner of a restaurant. It literally, you just would go up to the window and they would like very tiny kitchen. They could barely walk. And they're just like handing the birria tacos. And if you don't know what birria is, it's a meat, a Mexican meat that's sometimes made out of goat or it's made out of the shank of a cow, but it's very, very delicious. But anyways, now he has just like, his business is grown. People will wait like an hour in line to try to get one of his birria tickets. So very successful, humble guy who's now ready to expand. So he just rented a location and needed about $200,000 to do tenant improvements and then some working capital to hire and grow his staff. So very excited that he's approved and now he's in the construction process of getting his expansion going. So I just love, I'm a hard worker and I love hearing about small business owners because I don't think anybody works harder than a small business owner, especially in that industry, in the food industry, and just being, not a native of the United States. So very proud of this borrower. And just also, as Gustavo said, we're a small knit community here in San Diego. I feel like the small business owners here honestly are blessed to have so many people that, we refer to each other. We know each other. We really do care at the end of the day about you. So yeah, reach out to the Small Business Development Center. They'll probably contact you with one of us, whoever is the best fit for you. And we're always happy to chat too.
Fantastic. And Andrew.
Yeah, we recently, I brought on a business that I met at a city event that held a finance panel. The gentleman in the audience knew the 3 bankers on the panel. They all had said no when he had come in to get a loan because he was just a startup in his first year. But when we looked at the numbers, he'd already done about $500,000. He had been in the business 20 years working for someone else, and he wanted to go out on his own. So he was running that business for the other company and starting his own on the side, which is in the telecommunications category of going out to cell towers, moving them, building them, fixing them, whatever needs to be done in a business is exploding in that category and they can't get enough contractors. So he jumped into it. And one of the GCs he was working for out of New York, even though the business is in California, did introduce him to a receivable finance company. But they were only willing to fund that one GC. I figured there might be a kickback or something involved in that, really wasn't sure. But when I saw the contract, and I've been doing this 23 years, I couldn't even understand it. I didn't even know what the rate was. It had so many different parts to it. So I explained that to the client. The client knew he needed to fund his other receivables with other clients. He had a lot of growth potential. We brought him in, and within 3 months, looks like he's going to go from 700,000 to 3 million in a year's time. And so it was the right fit. We educated him. He loved it. We're on board, and very, very successful.
Fantastic. And so these are just examples of all the different types of success that happens. You can see that there are many fantastic small business lenders out there. And I think that's the last thing I want to say is make sure you work with and speak individually with the small business lender. We at the SBDC are going to help guide you there, but we're also going to make sure that you talk to the lender before you're submitting an application, make sure it's the right fit. Because there is predatory lending out there for small businesses. So know the person you're working with, because there's a lot of fantastic committed people out there that are in the lending market, and definitely do that. So appreciate everybody. Next month, we're actually doing in person with our Small Business Expo in Mission Valley. And so we're looking forward to that event as well, and look forward to hopefully seeing many of you there. And otherwise, have a fantastic week and enjoy the rest of the month of May. Bye.